Hello and welcome to this Task Manager and To-Do List Excel template tutorial. I created this video first to show you how the template works, what it does, and what cool features I have included in the template. And second, I also want us to build the entire template from scratch, step by step, so you can follow along and create it yourself. You'll find a free download link for the finished template in the description below. Feel free to pause, rewind, or replay this video as much as you need. My goal is to help you not just learn how to use and build this template, but also to pick up some handy Excel functions along the way. But before we dive in, let me give you a quick tour of what we're about to create. This simple and customizable task manager and to-do list is designed to streamline your project management and keep you organized. Simply enter your tasks into the table, assign them an owner, due date, status, and priority. The drop-down menus are fully customizable, so you can tailor the template to your needs. Modify the status, priority, and then add your owner or responsible team members. Once your tasks are set, managing them is effortless. Mark completed tasks with a simple checkbox using column C, and automatically highlight overdue tasks so nothing slips through the cracks using this checkbox. To keep you on track, this template also includes clear summaries of completed and pending tasks, broken down by status, priority, and owner. It's a straightforward yet powerful way to stay organized and achieve more in less time. Now that we've covered the basics, let's dive straight into the good stuff. Now let's go over how to use this template in a little bit more detail. Step 1, start by editing the status and priority values to match your workflow. Then add your team members in the designated space so that they're available in the owner drop-down list. That is, column E. Then, step 2, add your tasks or activities to the main table, assigning an owner, a due date, a status, and a priority. The days left column, so column I, updates automatically based on the due date and today's date, which you can find at the top right of the tasks, here. Then, step 3, stay on top of your work by adding new tasks, updating statuses and priorities, and refining other details as needed. Use the highlight function, here, to quickly identify tasks that need immediate attention. Finally, if you're starting a new project or managing a different team, create a copy of the blank template instead of deleting past data. This way, you can start fresh and go through steps 1 through 3 again with ease. And now for the main event, let's dive into this step-by-step guide to building this template from scratch. For this template, we'll break down the creation process into 4 main sections. First, we'll create the tasks table layout. Then we'll create the drop-down menus, so these columns as well as these sections. Then we'll create the template formulas, so for example, days left. And then finally, we'll go over conditional formatting. In each section, we'll handle all the necessary cell values, formulas, and formatting step by step. To make things easier, I recommend that you use the exact same cells and formulas as I do. This way, you can compare your version with mine and quickly spot any differences if you run into any issues. And remember, feel free to pause, rewind, or replay this video as much as you need. Let's begin. We'll start, as I mentioned, with the task table layout. First thing I'll do, I'll just create a new worksheet, and then I'll rename it. By the way, you can double click with your left click to rename it by clicking on the little tab that appears, or you can also right click and then go to rename and then rename this. I'm going to put task manager and then tutorial, but feel free to use whatever name you want. And then one other thing, if you want my colors to match whatever you have on your end, you'll need to go to page layout, then select themes, or rather colors, sorry. And then here, scroll down, and then the one I selected is violet. Feel free to choose whichever other you want as well. And whenever you've done, with this tutorial, you can also come back here and then just change the color, and that way you'll have a different one. All right. Now, one other thing, just for us to have the exact same thing and for any changes not to jump across worksheets, I'm just going to copy these two values. Actually, I'm going to copy all, and that's it. Perfect. All right, so let's start then with these, the task table layout. First thing, I'm going to copy these as values, so it's effectively as if I had manually entered these values in the cells. So Control-Alt-V, and then I have my header here. So you'll type # done, then task/activity, then owner/responsible, due date, status, priority, and days left. Now we'll go with the column widths. So remember, always in my templates, column widths are a bit arbitrary. Doesn't really have any special rules. What I'll do is I'll right click here and then select on, oh, where are you? Column width, sorry. Then whatever this value is, in this case 1.56, I don't really care much about the exact value. I'm just going to input it again here, column width, paste it, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the rest of the table. Now, for simplicity, I'm just going to show them to you. So column width, first one is 6.56. The next one, same thing, 6.56. Column D, 37. Column E, 21.68. And then something tells me it's going to be the same for F and H. Yep. And then we can choose these two just to double check on that. Okay, 21.67. And then finally, column I might also be the same one, just to make sure. Okay, so you'll copy these and then you'll go back to your worksheet and then you enter the values just as we did for column A. But right now, I'm just going to copy the widths with paste special and it's going to give me the same result. Perfect. Now, another thing, I'm going to now do the headers. So, what color are we using for the background? Fill color, sorry. Okay, so this fourth purple. So if I come here, I'm gonna select here, and then it's this fourth from right to left. And then it's a white font. It's most likely bolded. Let me check. Yep. And then two other things. So I like doing this. I like clicking on this leftmost, topmost as well, corner. This selects effectively your entire worksheet. And then once you have that, I like to center align everything. Sorry, middle align everything, not center. Center is this one. I like middle aligning so everything stays nicely at the middle of every single cell. No difference right now, but if I had made this row bigger, then you would have noticed how they are now middle aligned. And then the other thing is that this has borders. Let me go back and see. Okay, it seems a bit white. Maybe the exact colors are not the ones that you can see that I'm using, but it doesn't really matter. We're trying to match that example. We won't probably have the exact same colors. So let's use this light gray. And then I'm going to click here again. And then I'm going to put all borders. And then finally, these are actually also center aligned. So I click on center. Now, once I have this, because I'm very lazy, I'm just going to copy, select my entire thing, and then I'm going to click on paste special formats. This way, now I can just drag my format to the rest of the headers. And I now have the two same tables looking exactly the same. All right, next thing is I'll go here, and then I'll go 1 of 50. So obviously I did not type, the first time I did not type 1 through 50. What you can do is you can either you can do one of two things. So you can start with 1 and then click on equals this plus 1 and then drag your formula down all the way till row 59. And as you can see, this is the formula and this gives me 50. Or, I mean, that was very quick for me because I already had the 50, right? So I could just do Control Shift down. But if you don't have that, you can do equals sequence and then 50 rows and then everything is optional. And this will give you 1 through 50. Whoops. I typed 59. 1 through 50 as I said. And once you have this, you select the entire thing, copy, paste as values. Good. Now, for the checkboxes, this is very simple. So column C, column done. Now that we have these new functionality in Excel since June 2024 or July probably, so last year, mid last year, you just select the ranges, go to insert, and then hit on checkbox. And once you have that, I only need to change the font color, which is probably this purple, lavender. Let's see. Okay, seems like it. Perfect. Now I also have to middle align these two. Sorry, center. What is it? Center align. I always get those two confused. Now for task or activity, it's also center. Owner is center, 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 and center. Okay. So let's make sure everything is centered all the way. Column I. I'm going to hit center. Perfect. And then I also need the borders. So for the borders, I'm going to do something similar. I'm going to select the entire table. Whoops. There you go. And then I'm going to hit on probably the second one or the middle one. Doesn't really matter. It's sort of gray. And then I'm going to click on all borders. And there you have it. And finally, this last column, days left, probably has, I mean, ignoring the formulas, of course, it has general. Okay, so I'll leave it like that. So I'm just going to select the entire thing. And then most likely is one of these two. I think it's this one. Let's check. Oh, it wasn't that one. Okay, it was this one if you want to be like very precise. So I come back, and by the way, I have it already pre-selected because I had clicked on it. So if I just hit here, I would update that color. But since you don't have it, I'm gonna go by the book on this. And now these two match. All right, the last thing then is we set template formulas on the third section. So I'm gonna leave it like this for now and just gonna stick to the layout. Cool. So now we have our tasks list or tasks table. Now the next thing is to add the drop-down menus. So drop-down menus, you can see we have these different sections. We have the status, the priority, and then the owner responsible. So for now, I'm gonna select these, copy, and then paste them as values on column L, I think it was. Yes, L9. So L9, values. I'm not cheating. I'm just copying everything as values, right? Same thing as if I had typed it. It's just that I'm saving some time for this tutorial. And then we want to copy these widths as well. So let's see. These two are 156. So the same as the first one, column A. And then this one has 2811. So I'm going to show you a cool trick now, since you already have column A as well. For this one, I'm going to do the same as I did for the very first one, copy and paste. But now that you have column A, I'm going to copy any row from column A, I'm going to go here, select J and K, hit Control Alt V, and then hit on widths. I hit on W. You can see that it's underscored. So whenever you hit, for example, V for values, or F for formulas, or T for formats, right? Very quickly, you'll select whatever underscored letter you have clicked on, and then I'm going to hit OK. And that's how I pasted the widths. Now, column M probably stayed the same. Let's see. I think that's the default. 8.11. And then these two sound like J and K. Yes. All right, so let's come back. Let's make sure this matches. Yes, 8.11. No changes there. And then the last two, same thing. I copied the entire J and K selection, then paste it on N, and that will carry over on O. Cool. So now we have status, not started, in progress, paused, priority, high, medium, low, and then the space for owner responsible, so the team members. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think this one, we can just copy the format into the header. Now I have a shortcut. Whenever I hit on Alt 1, I have these format painter appear. But if you don't have it, you can find it here, format painter, on the home part of the ribbon. So I copy these two, and then copy these two, and then copy these two. Cool. Now, this is also simple. This one is exactly the same. So I copy these, then I copy these, and then what was the last row here? It's 34. So copy all the way till 34. There we go. And I'm gonna hit on task activity. Copy the format. And it actually matches, I think. I think it does. Okay. So back again, copy, and then select one, copy format or owner responsible. All right, now I have already what I call the source cells. So status, 3 values, priority, 3 values, owner and responsible. I have 15 values. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to add those drop downs into my tasks table. So first, let's start with the very first one, owner responsible. I'm gonna go all the way down, make sure I select all rows under the column owner responsible, column E in this case. And then I'm gonna go to data, click on data validation, and then here I'm gonna select list, and in source I'm gonna specify this one. So all the cells that I can possibly fill out for owner/responsible, and hit OK. Once I do that, you can see that there's a little arrow that appears whenever I select any of the cells for that column. And right now it's empty. Nothing's there. So if I have, for example, Charlie, yours truly, and if I select down, now I can see Charlie there. And because my selection is always going to be bigger, right? Because I'm going to have blank spaces, that's where these blank value will appear. So the only way to get rid of that is to dynamically size your list using named ranges. But for now, we're not going to cover this on this tutorial. Now, let's do the same for status as well as for priority. I just need to go all the way down, and notice how this one also has the same drop down. I'm going to go all the way down, G, and then data validation. Same thing is list, and then source. This 3 for status. Okay. Notice that in this case, there's no empty one because the 3 are matched with these 3 values. And then we'll do the same for priority. Select the entire thing. Obviously, don't select priority, like the header. You can exclude that. Data validation. Then go to list. And then on source, you'll just select these three values and hit OK. And we have that now, high, medium, low. All right. So that's how you create the drop-down menus. So we have our layout and then our drop-downs. Now let's go through the template formulas. So first one, the days left. What I want to do for days left is I want to indicate how many days are left for me to complete a given task. Against what? Against the current date. So first thing, let's create the current date sort of displayed value that is on top of the table. If I go back here, I'm gonna make this is on G, pasting value again, not doing anything other than that, and then copying format, and then I'm gonna go to home and select on merge and center. And then after that, I'm gonna hit here, and then I'm gonna do something similar. I'm gonna select these 4 cells, and then I'm gonna hit Control V. I copied everything here because I wanted the format as well. And then again, merge and center. Now this one is very likely just a formula saying today, which is gonna bring today's formula. Let's see if that's the case. It is today. But now see that the format is different. I mean, not just the obvious. So font color is this 5th value, and then it is size 16. So we can do that very easily. 16, and then this value. But now what you want for it to look like my example is you want to select it and then go to this little arrow here right next to number format. And then you're going to go to either custom or you're going to go to date. And then you're going to select this one, the one that has the entire like Wednesday, March number and then year. I mean, if you want it, you can leave it like this, or you can also do another format. I like using this one because whenever we go to this menu, this little asterisk that appears here, so the star at the beginning, means that these formats, whenever you select them, they're going to be adapted to regional date and time settings. That means that if you're in a different region and the date and format is displayed in a different way, it will be responsive to that way and will be adapted automatically. If it doesn't have that star, it means it won't change. So that's why I like that one in particular. All right, so now we have our today's formula and we're all set. So what do we need to do here? Let's say that our due date is gonna be, I don't know, the end of the month, for example, February 28th of 25. So how many days left do I have? I have this minus today's date. So I have 16 days. Hooray. But formula is not quite done yet. A few things. What happens if I delete this? I mean, it appears because dates are actually numbers in Excel. They're just formatted in a certain way. But this is just an offset, essentially, from the very first date that Excel has, which I believe is January 1st of 1900. So these many days have gone by since that date, right, all the way to February 12th. So I don't want anything here if this is empty. Also, for whatever reason, if this is empty, that might cause an issue, right? If I delete this, it's going to be now the exact same number, but positive. So, well, not the exact same number, a similar number, right? Because it's still February. It's a bit larger now, and it's not negative. And also, I probably don't like having anything here unless there's a task, right? So how do I do that? The way I protect my formula, so to speak, is to add an if condition. So I say if, and then only if this is different than blank, I have a task defined, also not blank, and then I actually have a due date defined. Then only if that's actually, I messed up because you need an nth. Only if all those conditions are met, right? And means every single condition needs to be true for this whole condition to be true. So only then do the operation. If not, then do nothing. Cool. So now let's see test. All right, I have the 16 days. But what happens if I copy these into here? Now let's see. Seems to be working, but whenever I do this, oh, what's happening now? So look at this weird reference. That happens because I didn't freeze my reference back to this date. So what I need to do is G6 needs to be frozen. So the quick and easy way is just to click on F4, and then also needs to be frozen here. Nice. So whenever I copy this one here, you'll see that the 16 still applies. By the way, let's just copy the same format to the entire thing so that whenever you add a value, whenever you type in this case, February/28/25, it will be recognized as a date. But if you copy something in there that was a date, it won't be updated automatically or displayed accordingly. So let's just add the date format. Okay. And now, if for whatever reason there's an error, we can always protect ourselves with showing blanks. Now we copy these, and then we go all the way down, and then we either just do Control V, because the formatting is also there, or we can click on formulas here, and there we go. So I'm not gonna delete this one because it's already a formula. Just gonna delete these two. Okay, so that's how the days left is done. Now remember that we also had some values here, plus we need to calculate our sort of summary for column M. So let's go back. Now we're gonna copy these again, just as values, L5. So you type in tasks, define completed. These two are formulas. We'll update them now. We copy these. We copy these as well as the header. So define basically for me means how many tasks are there here that are essentially not blank on the tasks activity value. And completed is a subset of those that are defined that also have a done status, right? Through here, through the check mark. So how do we do that? We're gonna do a count ifs for this range. I'm gonna freeze it with F4. And then my criteria is that it has to be different than blank. Obviously right now, no tasks. And then the second one is gonna be exactly the same, but there's a second criteria. The second criteria is that here, also frozen, F4, needs to be true. Whenever you have a checkbox in Excel, this new checkbox is implemented last year, and it's checked, it will have, so the cell, in this case, for example, C10, will have a true value here whenever it's checked, like this. And whenever it's unchecked, it will be false. So let's make a quick test. A, B, C, D, E. All right, we have 5. And then out of those 5, we have 2 completed. Very nice. And by the way, whenever you have checkboxes, you can select them all. And then with your space bar, you can check or uncheck them. But don't delete them because that's not the same thing as unchecking them. Now we need to do status, priority, and owner responsible. We're going to do the same thing. But remember, well, not remember because I have not mentioned it. Here, I only want the not completed tasks. In this case, I want not completed, so it's defined and it's either not started, in progress, or paused. And I want to check for it to be not completed because this is a summary for your outstanding tasks that need to be completed. Same for priority as well as same by team member. So the formula is going to be very similar to this one. There's just one other thing that we'll add. In this case, oh, actually, since I just mentioned that we don't want it to be completed, we'll just copy these. Now we'll put false. And then the additional condition is for status. So column G, select the entire thing, and then you can freeze again. And then one nice trick is that the condition is just this cell, L10. And then if you do that, you can just drag your formula down by control down, or you can also just copy paste and then see how it gets updated automatically because of how the references work. And I think probably one other thing, what happens if you don't want a status, right? You only need two and you're gonna leave this one blank. So also, we're gonna check that the status, in this case L10, is not blank. If that's the case, then everything happens. And if it's blank, we're actually leaving it blank. Okay, updated the formulas. Now this formula is very similar to what we have in priority. What changes? Exactly. You can just drag this, and now you can see that H was selected instead of G. And then you can also drag this. Now, two references, right? At the beginning and at the end. So that's why these two boxes appeared. But then now I have consolidated them, and it's L15. Once you have this, you can do Control Copy, Control V, or paste as formulas, or drag with Control Down. And let's do something similar for the owner. So for owner, I'm going to copy here, and then I'm going to drag this one, column E. Make sure you're not selecting the header, right? In this case, every single thing starts on 10, row 10, row 10. And then this one, I'll just move it here, enter, and then drag this down. See, for example, here in owner responsible, I don't have anything defined yet, and that's why it needs to appear blank. It could also appear 0 if you wanted, but let's say that you put like Rob, Jim, Michael, and then Pam, and then that's it. That's your team. You probably don't want this to be filled out with zeros. It looks cleaner like this. I mean, but you can change it if you want to. Okay. Let me see if we're done with formulas. So the only one we're missing is the one that we'll also be using for the conditional formatting. So let's add that now. So come back here, and then I'm gonna copy these again, just as values. And then I need to merge all the way till D. Merge. And then for now, I'll ignore this. We'll come back to this later. And then here, I'm actually gonna use these formatting. And then I'm gonna merge this. And then I'm gonna merge this. Okay. And I also need to use this same background color. And I'm using this just to make the distinction of what needs to be or can be modified directly, right? You can type in every single cell here because it has a white background, but you won't change any of this stuff because it's formulas. So it's easier for you to visualize what you can and cannot update. And then this needs to be bigger in percentage. And what exactly is this, right? Oops, probably too big. What this cell is essentially a percentage of how many tasks are completed. How do you know that? Well, you already have how many tasks are completed and defined. So essentially, we just need a formula that needs to begin with if error, because 0 by 0 or something by 0 will give you an error. So how many completed out of how many defined. And if there's an, oops, it was not a comma, it was a slash. And if something happens, we can just put 0. Or you can also do the double quotes so that nothing is displayed. So now we have all of our formulas, and now we need to move to the conditional formatting. So conditional formatting requires for me to add the highlight that we had here. So highlight overdue. I'm gonna copy it here, and then I can center it and then bold it. Then let's see if it has, okay, 11. And then these two seem to be merged. And then I'll add a checkbox. And then we'll also add the sort of lavender font color. And then it's probably, okay, 14. 14. Great. So we need two conditional formattings here. We need a conditional formatting of the progress bar that's going to allow me to see whenever I have completed a task. And then we need also to be able to highlight overdue tasks. So let's do first these tasks completed. First thing you'll do actually is just copy the formula here, B6 equals B6. And then once you have the value, you'll go to Home, Conditional Formatting, click on New Rule, and then here, on the very first one, you have a format style that allows you to select a data bar. Now the minimum, you can add percentage or number. I like number because I put 0, and then the maximum is just 1. And then the color can be whatever you want. Let's go back and see which one I added. I might have added this one and probably added a light border. Let's see. And then important, click on show bar only. That way, these number, the 0%, which by the way is the one dictating how much of your bar is being colored, won't be shown. So hit OK. And then I'm gonna come back. And then as you can see, you have the B6 formula. And then let's see. Edit. Okay, I did add that lavender one. And solid, the very first one. Okay, so let's go back and change that. Oh, not here. You can click on manage rules now this time, right? Because adding a new one won't work. You're overriding the formula. Then edit. Okay, lavender. And then the very light one. Nice. So let's see if this works. So we'll have A, B, C, D, E, 5 tasks. And as soon as I start typing completed, you can see my progress bar is being colored automatically. Nice. Now, the other one is the highlight overdue. Let's bring the example back so that we reason together what needs to be done. So, in the example, whenever I hit on highlight, oh, by the way, we have another one that I had not mentioned. So whenever you complete a task, we need to mark it as completed with the gray color. But let's begin with the highlight overdue. So the highlight overdue, whenever you select here, you want to highlight the entire row of a task whose highlight date, sorry, not highlight date, whose due date is less than today's date. For example, here this date was due on January 22 and now we're on February, so it needs to be highlighted because it's overdue. The same ones here, it was due on January. This one's due on February, but it's on the 6th, on the 10th, which has already gone by, and then this one on January. So, how do we do that? It's quite easy. We select this entire thing, And then we can do one of two things. We can check if the due date is less than today's date, or since we already have the days left calculation, we can see if this one's a negative value. So we'll go to first, we'll just add some random, let's say greater than formula, because what I want is to have this light red field already there. I'm just gonna put 0 and we'll change this. So once we just did that, we can go to manage rules. And the why I did that is because two things happen. It's already added the rule to the right cells based on my selection. And I have the format that I want. So I only need to change the formulas. So I go to edit rule, then select use a formula. And then the formula that I need needs to take into account the negative value, but also needs to take into account that the task is actually defined as well as the due date. So how do you do that? You type in an AND condition where all these conditions need to be met. First, remember that in I6, we're including the highlight overdue checkbox. So this needs to be true. That means activated. Second, the task needs to be not completed. So this needs to be false. That's why the not C10 appears. And remember, this one is not frozen for the row, only for the column, because we're applying this to every single column within a cell. And then the third condition, the tasks need to be defined. So again, D10 when D is frozen, because we need to always refer to the task and not our other values. The tasks need to be defined, so different than blank. And then finally, the condition that I mentioned, I10, again with I frozen, needs to be less than 0. If it's 0, it's still possible that you complete it on the same day that it's due. So it needs to be less than 0. The other condition you could have is that instead of I10 less than 0, you could have the date less than today's date and needs to be frozen. These references, so G6 would need to be frozen, and then the other one wouldn't be frozen. So you would have something like, where's due date? You would have F10 less than, and then G6 frozen. But this is simpler, so let's go with this. I'll hit OK, apply, OK, and so let's see what happens. I have A, B, C, and then I'm gonna do today. Whoops, didn't type that right. Oh, I typed it on owner. Today, and then today -1, and then today -2, for example. So these two are already overdue. Whenever I hit on highlight, you'll see they are marked as overdue. But whenever I complete it, it's not overdue anymore. And whenever a task is not defined, or the due date's not there, so it's a blank, also it's not highlighted. Okay, it's working. Now, the third thing that I didn't mention at the beginning, but when we looked at the example, we saw that it was also working, is that whenever a task is completed, so a done, there's this gray color that's being applied. So how do we do that? It's very similar to what we just did, even simpler. So what we do, again, is we select our entire table, and then we do a new rule. We're going to click on the formula, and then the formula is sort of similar because it's also an AND condition. And then this AND condition actually checks for B10. So B10 needs to be true. Sorry, C10. So it needs to be checked, right? And then it also needs to be not blank. So D10 needs to be defined. And then that's it. Only those two. So I go to format now, and then color, we'll pick some gray, and then fill, also some light gray, probably this one, or maybe the second one. And then we'll also add the strike through effect. Hit OK, OK. And then let's see, A, B, C, D. And then if this is completed, there you go. I think probably the colors are a bit off. Let me check. It is. So let me correct them. Whenever you're on a cell that is being applied, that conditional formatting, you can just simply here click on Manage Rules, and those rules will exist there. Or if you're on the worksheet, you can also go to Manage and then click here and then select this worksheet. So that way you'll see every single conditional formatting rule. Here, I'll just hit on Edit, and then the one thing that was off was this color. It's a bit lighter. Then I apply. Okay. Nice. You can see that here I don't have anything defined, so that's why the color is not being applied. Okay, let me see. I think we have everything now. One last thing, I like to do this. I like to indicate that this template has some boundaries, let's call it that way. So I add this gray color to every single cell that's within the template, and then I remove the grid lines. That way your template looks much cleaner. So I'm going to speed these up, but basically I'm just adding that gray color to every single cell. I go to View and then hit on Grid Lines, and that way it looks much cleaner now. All right, so we started with the task table layout, we did the drop-down menus, we did the formulas, and then we ended up with the conditional formatting rules. Perfect. Nice work, everyone. And that's a wrap. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up or leave a comment below. Consider subscribing to my channel. I will continue to upload free Excel tutorials and courses to help you learn Excel, improve your modeling skills, and create your own tools and templates. And hey, if you're on the hunt for more productivity and planning tools, check out my store. The link's in the description. Until next time, stay productive, stay awesome.